All right. So we're gonna do. What was the verse we left off on last week in this class? It was it 21?
Yeah.
I think we went through 21, so we'd be picking up at verse 22.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna review. And one of the things that we're happening toward the tail end of Genesis chapter 1 is the words that we've been being introduced, just so much repetition. We're getting a lot of review just by keeping going through the rest of the verses. So there's a few words, you got a new few vocabulary words like last week, and of course you have to kind of keep up on those and review them, but we want to probably just keep going, and like I said, we're just getting so much review as we continue on that's what we're going to do. All right. Well, nice of you to join us today, Elisheva.
You're welcome. Anything I can do to help.
Now we got 2 videos with that in.
I knew you just wanted to say that. I waited. Yep.
All right. So let's see, I'm getting the page number for you.
120, yeah.
It's
124. Okay, thank you. 124. So we're on verse 22, and our first word is Vayibarik. Vayibarik. And so I've been getting better at trying to sound those little accent marks you see down there, and that's where your emphasis is on that syllable. Normally when it's not marked for a accent mark, you're doing like the last syllable with emphasis, but you can see when it's not. Vayibarik, and that is Vayibrak, that's and he blessed. Or really the idea is to honor or favor, and that word, bless is kind of a, what we call it, an abstract term, and it's really not well defined. It never was really well defined in my head. Like, oh, bless you, or, you're blessed. Mm-hmm. It means to honor and favor. And it's that word, barak, means to kneel down, and it's also the root for a knee. So that's the root for your knee. And so it's very heavily related to kneeling. And so when you kneel, it's showing honor. And we even find that God blessed man. Right. And that's like the word that could mean to kneel down. So that's interesting because of the honor, the type of honor that God has given to man. Because, like we talked about, what is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you care for him? And there's so much, he's put so much weight on man in the earth. And if you think about even when we were lost, what he paid to redeem us. I mean, that shows like the value that he places on us is so amazing, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's a neat word, and you guys know that's just and he honored or favored. Got your Vav, Yod. And then it says Otam. And that is, we hit that last week, but let me go ahead and just kind of do a little something on that. So we got our Aleph Tav, okay? And that's your Aleph Tav. That is your Et. And so that they or them, those kind of things don't appear as their own word. They need to hook onto something. And so here we just see it hooking onto the Aleph Tav, and that is them. Okay? So this works really well because the Aleph Tav is not translated, and so the Otam here is the word for them, and that's a really common way that we can do that. But we can add that on to all kinds of other verbs too. We can see that added on. And I'm going to do a little running list of some of these suffixes over here. And so first off, just like in this class, for this class, and we got that mem is equaling them, and we're seeing it as otam, okay? There is in your book, in the charts, there's pages in the charts, and there's a page for pronouns. And it's also in your flashcards. There's a pronoun flashcard. So those are really good to get kind of used to them. And some words appearing as, there's them, otam, or it can be just that mem on there. So, and he honored or favored otam, them. Page 126, Elohim. So they had the verb, and there's your subject, Elohim. Lemor. So lemor is, that's the word amar, from like vayomer. So, and he said, and then the lam is just like 2 or 4. And so here it's kind of saying, and he blessed them saying, or like we'd say to say. And he blessed them to say, but we might just for better translation say saying, Peru, not the country. And so remember peri, fruit trees. And so para is our root word to bear fruit. And so he is saying Peru, and the yod on there, let's put Peru up here. So it's our par, bear fruit. And then that vav on a verb, and let's put it over here. And we usually see that means they. Okay, they.
They will bear fruit.
No, they did, bear fruit.
Fruit.
But sometimes it can stand alone. Instead of they, it could be like a plural you, ye. And in that way, it'd be more command form, Peru.
Oh.
They or ye. It's the group is still plural. It's just it has that flexibility in it, okay? But you're mainly remembering it as a they, okay? But we can use it that way. Peru, ye or they bore fruit. And then we got, this is kind of fun, we got Peru, ye shall bear fruit, or ye bore fruit, ye bear fruit. Urbu. And this is the word rabbah. When I say toda rabbah, that's toda is thank you, and then rabbah is very much.
Thank you, plural.
What's that?
Thank you, plural. Thank you many times.
Much. Very much. Thank you very much. Sorry, bad. Okay, so we got urbu, and so that vav is the same as that vav, they or ye, all right? But we do have a vav on there, right? And the vav obviously is and shall. It is, and the shall is the changing of the tense because it's not in the vav yod combo, right? Because that's when we always leave it alone, the tense alone. But remember, the vav or the yod always changes the tense unless they're together. And we haven't seen the vav come alone, right? He always comes with a friend in a lot of the verses we've seen. So I've told you guys that as a principle, but we haven't really demonstrated it a lot. And so here we're having a word where, and just remember that we did reverse the tense, and it translates out as and you guys know that. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention because we haven't seen it in action a whole lot on changing the tense because of the yod. So, Peru, bear fruit, urbu, and ye shall, and so that's definitely a future tense here, right? And so instead of, it could be and ye shall or they shall multiply or become great. They shall increase, and that's rabbah, being great, increase. All right. Then our next word, umelu. We got Peru, urbu, umelu. So that's pretty poetic there, isn't it? That'd be one that's fun if you guys are still doing that. This good practice is listening to a native speaker speak that part. That would be kind of fun, huh? Peru, Urbu, Umilu. And so let's look at this word. This is a new root word, malah. Okay, so let's do Umilu. So we got malah, which is to fill up. Okay? Malah is to fill up. And it's used in a lot of ways. It's used like the fullness of the Gentiles. It's an interesting word, when we read that, because it talks about Joseph being the fullness of the Gentiles. And really, it's like he fills up the Gentiles. And it's interesting how God has sowed the seed of Abraham into all the nations. And he expects a harvest out of that. Right? And so there's a full, it's just amazing. The sons of Abraham, you trace that story, and it didn't like really change in the gospel. I mean, he still has had a plan of sowing the sons of Abraham into the nations to bring forth a harvest. And, the Bible talks about we're being grafted in with Israel. And so, and it's always in like a nature seeding and planting and harvesting analogy in scripture. So I just think that's really fascinating. This word, when you read the Aramaic New Testament, and just to give you another thing on that word, Yeshua used that in Matthew 5:17. And he says, don't think that I've come to do away with or abolish the law. I did not come to do away with it, but I came to fill it up. It's the exact same shared root in Aramaic. And so it's interesting how that has become translated, because that means to bring it to fullness.
Or to be the...
To fill it up,
to be the fullness of...
Right, like if you take a pitcher and you're filling up a glass, that's malah. That's what malah means. And so, don't think I came to get rid of it.
Destroy.
Right. Don't think I came to destroy it. And then if we think that malah means to destroy or do away with, it'd be like a double negative. Don't think I came to do away with it, I came to do away with it. And that makes absolutely no sense, right? So he says, I didn't come to do away with it, but I came to bring it to its full meaning, to bring it like in its full teaching, to bring it to what its full purpose has always been, right? Getting it in the right understanding. And so that's a neat word. I don't know, I just thought I'd talk about it for a second.
Well, it helps us remember it. So.
Yeah, so malah, to fill up. And we got umilu. Skip to malu.
Be a good password.
Umilu. Okay, so this is and shall. Once again, do you guys see this repetition? It's really good for our learning, isn't it? They or ye shall bear fruit. They or ye shall coming from here. That could actually be a past tense, okay? Shall become great. And they shall become great. And they become great. And they or ye, if you're commanding or talking to a group, depends on if you're talking about them or to them. You could be doing either. And so it's that same group, only you're either talking about them and saying they, or you're talking to them and you're saying ye. Okay? So, and they shall fill up. There would be a more correct way to say you shall do this, but when we read scripture, you'll actually find that sometimes when the context is obvious that that person is talking to that group, it's still using they, but it's really meaning the, ye, by context. So even though we could do a better job of being specific about ye shall, right? Because we would write that as, this is just a little bonus thing. You don't have to remember this. Tim. That's you, plural. If we wanted to be really specific, but it doesn't necessarily always follow that. And so it can be ye, even when we see the vav that's normally they. That sounds confusing even after saying it, but hopefully it makes sense. I mean, I just feel like that sounded
the word would be
confusing.
sandwiched into that Tim, right?
That would be hooked onto the end of a verb,
Oh,
like Malay Tim.
Right.
oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right, so it would just be a suffix. That's why, and that's in green. That gives us that. So okay, so we got. So that was fun, and it was really good, nice repetition. Thanks, Father, for putting that in Genesis 1 like that for us.
So, why is it they bore fruit instead of a command to bear fruit? Because that's how it's usually translated.
Right. It is in a past tense, but it's being commanded,
Okay.
obviously by
So it's
context.
just understood.
So our context would override the rule, and that does happen. Like when I was
It's
translating,
in English.
you know, I wanted to just have a cookie cutter. This always means this, and
Doesn't matter.
I'd see times where something I thought should have been past tense, and it was being commanded, you know, and vice versa. So sometimes your context just has to override the literary rule. Yeah. Okay. So Peru, bear fruit, multiply, and fill at now. So the olive top is going to show us what gets filled at Hamaim, page 128. Fill at Hamaim, the waters, Bayamim, in the seas, right? So,
Not
good
water
job.
in the sky.
Right. Not Bashamayim, yeah. Bayamim. And so Yam is our word for sea. Very similar to the word Yom, which is day. Remember that? Because Yom is a Yod, Vav, Mem. And here Yam is just a Yod, Mem. But sometimes the word day drops the Yod in the plural form. And so then you got Yamim. It could be Yomim or Yamim. And context is going to tell you that, right? So he's not going to say the waters in the days, right? Probably not. So fill up. So he's talking to. Oh, and here's just a little background. So last week we just talked about the day 4 of creation, and he populated the waters with creatures, living creatures, and he populated remember the oaf, the flying creatures, the birds. So if you say you big oaf, you're calling him a big bird, right? Isn't that the saying? Do you say you big oaf? Yeah, I guess they're calling him a big bird in Hebrew. All right, so let him basically populate and increase in the waters of the seas. There we go. Veha'of. And the bird or flying thing. And the birds, flying creatures, Yirab. And there's our Rabbah word again, which is great. And Yod is doing what for us here? That's right. And so it's doing what the Vav's been doing, only it's doing it without adding the word and, okay? Okay, so we got our Rob. Become great, increase, or was great, or was increased, shall increase. That's good. We got to see that word, get to learn our word Rob, Rabbah. Good here. Let's go on. So we got, and the bird will what? He will increase. Ba'aretz. In the earth or on the earth, yep. So that's pretty easy. We had a couple of words, but like the grammar and the prefixes and suffixes, you guys are pretty familiar with, huh? So that's good. It still kind of feels like review at this point. It's not a lot of new info coming through. Okay, we're on verse 23. Vayehi. And that's from the root word what? Haya, right, to be, or usually being translated was, and it was Erev, evening.
Mixture.
Vayehi Boker, and it was morning. Yom de Kamishi. Kamishi. So there is our 5th day, and that's from the root word kamesh. So kamesh is 5. So if you have 5 of something, you'd say kamesh. But if you're trying to say the 5th one, it would be kamishi. And so far we've had Yom Echad, day 1, Yom Sheni, day 2. And notice that the words are being, when we're saying first, second, third, fourth, fifth, they're adding the yod on there, and it's meaning the 5th. So then Yom Shalishi was,
the best one.
you like that one? Day 3. And Yom Rabiyi, that's a good one. Day 4, and then we got Yom Kamishi. Kamishi, day 5.
It's guttural.
Echad, Sheni, Shalishi, Rabiyi, Kamishi. Notice this, that's interesting. We finished day 4 last week. I mean, unless I'm reading something wrong, we didn't actually see something created on day 5. He was commanding. Well, is he creating? I mean, because he talked about creating on day 4, and now he's commanding them to multiply. So, like maybe a light day. I don't know.
Yeah, delegated.
So, I mean, a light
What
day.
day was that? So
You delegated.
The day of grace.
Yeah.
Right.
Thursday.
And then someone mentioned that was the verse. He says, "How come in that verse in the other class? How come that verse it didn't say?" And he saw that it was good.
This is Monday.
And I thought, that's a Monday?
Well, the one I know.
What are you on, Lunar Sabbath or something?
Edit.
Edit.
That's funny.
I get Monday from 5th, but
No, that's not Monday.
Is that a Thursday?
Isn't it
That's a Saturday, Monday, Tuesday,
Tuesday?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday where he blesses the day twice, though.
I don't remember.
Wouldn't Monday be the second day?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You are
We,
correct.
yes, you're right. Day 2.
Shabbat is wrong.
Elisheva is wrong again.
Whatever. I was kidding.
I know. Sorry. I'll edit that out of the video. We want you to feel free to
Video.
kid around in the class a
Yeah, we
little.
can just like name the video.
Wrong again. I definitely got to edit there. Okay. Vayomer and said, Elohim Totse. Totse, that's kind of a fun word, huh? A lot of these words are fun. And so that's from the word, we have seen it, I think, once before, and it was the word Yatzah.
Yeah.
Right, one forward. What was that?
And Yatzah was to go out or go forth. It's spelled with an aleph, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yatzah. And that was to go out. And what we got with Totse, we're adding the tav. And can anybody remember what that tav often does for our verb here? Remember, there's 30 things about a verb. There's 3 things about a verb that's default. When we add to it, we're changing one of those 3 things. We're either changing it from masculine to feminine, or we're changing it from
Past tense, yeah.
singular to plural, or we're changing the tense of the verb. Huh?
What you just said.
The tense.
No.
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 I'm just gonna not
The-
say anything.
The tav. So, and this is something that it's been kind of new, but it's, for some reason I found this in both classes. I don't know why this is. It's a little bit hard sinking in. And so this is something maybe we got to work at. We're always masculine on a verb. If we're going to go
Yeah.
by default, it's always masculine. There's got to be something that we do to change it from masculine to feminine. There's 2 primary ways, and that is a tav or a hey. Okay, those are our feminine letters.
do the two look like?
So a tav is a feminine letter, very common. We've seen that used a few times, and then that hey is also feminine, and that's when we're changing masculine to feminine.
But
Okay.
that's also changing the tense, right?
No,
Putting a top on the front.
it can. It can be a command form, which I don't want to confuse people with
Oh.
because it's not in this text.
Okay.
But what we have is a vav going in here, and as an infix, and we got a yod dropping out, which makes it look like a prefix, but it's actually a infix, and that's an ongoing tense.
Oops.
Okay,
So it's not completed tense anymore. Oh, because of the
because of the vav,
Because of the
right,
vav.
right. Totse. So we went from yatsa, which is to go out and go forth, and we got she or it or a feminine it does go forth. Can appear many times. We'll call that the ing, that vav. We'll call it an ing because it's an ongoing tense, but ongoing tense doesn't always have ing. Because sometimes it just say like, it does do this. It runs. See, runs is a ongoing tense without an ing. So sometimes we could see it and not see the ing. But for your memory, I have been writing it a mem. There's been three things that are ing, ongoing tense, right? Two infixes and one prefix are ing, and this is good to remember. And they all function the exact same way. They're also noun modifiers, so they can either be making that verb an ongoing tense, or they could be making it into a noun depending on your context. And that's something also that is really good when that sinks in. Like if I was going to emphasize anything, I'd like to see us, I do see that this kind of be a struggle sometimes to remember. And I've seen this being a struggle sometimes to remember for that feminine tense. Come on, girls. I mean, you should be trying to remember like where the girl is in the word here, where the feminine is. The tav and the hey, girls, that's your letters. All right. What'd he say?
So I don't think you're talking to a bunch of feminists.
No, I didn't mean it in a feminist way. I just meant.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Come on, girls, where's your girl power? Now, if I said that, I might be borderlining that, right? Okay. Edit.
I was gonna say, edit.
You know what's so funny, and I hope I really don't forget to edit, is sometimes I've done like something really dumb. Like one time I just went, ah! Like that in the video, and then I missed it on the edit, because I was sure I was going to edit it. I hope I get that one now.
But see, that's comic relief.
That's kind of
Then
comic.
the body relaxes. Then
Maybe
you
I
look
should
better.
leave it in there. No, some things I need to edit. We'll see. All right. Anyway, meanwhile, back in the ranch, or back in the spirit. Okay, so we had vatotse and goes forth. What's going forth? Haaretz. So the earth will bring forth here. So it's going out of the earth, or the earth is coming out of her, and that's why we had the she. All right, that's why our tav was there, because our subject is the earth, and the earth is a feminine.
That's interesting.
Right, that's why they probably got Mother Earth, because they just took that a little too far, right?
Just a little bit.
Okay. Vatotse haaretz, so that's what's bringing it forth. Nefesh chaya.
Nefesh chaya.
And remember, nefesh chaya is how we say living creatures, only here it's creatures living. Right, because it's Hebrew and
Just
like
It's
Yoda's
Yoda.
talking, right? That's, creatures living. So nefesh is kind of a broad word, because it gets used as life, soul, be in the sense of a being, a living being, or a creature of an animal, which is different than like the soul of a man. And so it's like some words are like that really broad context, and you really gotta. It doesn't necessarily mean some specific theological or doctrinal thing. every time you see it because it's broadly used. So that's one of those that's really interesting. That's the same word like nephesh, the soul that sins, it shall die. In Ezekiel 18, that's nephesh. So, okay, so we got creatures, chaya. Chaya is alive, living. Lemina.
Let me know.
Okay, so we'll see how we get this one.
Let me know.
What is that hay doing?
Sister comes out.
What's the hay doing on the end of that word? Anybody got an idea?
Sisters.
Huh?
Feminine.
Feminine! You guys are good. All right, and that ended up being a green one, didn't it? She. Yes. That's our. And this is really kind of fun because we got that lemina, that mean. Okay, our word mean, right? That's a mem, yod, noon. Actually, that yod is an infix, which is doing not ongoing tense, but it's noun modifying. Remember, it can do both, and in here, it's a noun modifier. So it took that word mana, which is to portion out, and it became that which is portioned out. Okay, so mean is our word. That's our word. And we've seen lamed on there before. Remember let me know? So we saw let me know, right? And that means let me know. No, just kidding. That means after or according to, because that's 2 or 4. According to, let me know was his kind. Remember? And then we also saw let me know who, which was also after his kind, because that was the abbreviated way. The normal way we see it is in the abbreviated way, but sometimes we could see it in the full way. And that's the same suffix, basically. When we saw lemina, that's after her kind. It's in it's showing a feminine noun, or its kind, but it's a feminine it. Okay. And we also saw lemine him. Do you guys remember that?
Nope.
Maybe it's in this class, and I don't know which, but there was a lemine.
Wow.
There was a lemine. I know, right? Hey, it gets hard to keep this stuff
I don't remember that.
solid in my
Tell me where
head.
it went.
Lemine him was after their kind. Okay, because him was them. See, because it's really simple. Because him is them, who is he, and then he is she, and me is who.
Yep.
You guys got that, right?
Yep.
No.
Okay. Me is who is he is she, and she is
Him is
which.
them. Oh yeah.
Right. And then him, but it's not him because him is them. He's not him, him is them.
Matt's ears are smoking.
So much fun. Okay, so with those guys, go and look at your pronoun flashcards. Use those. That'll help you a lot. Okay. Use your pronoun flashcards. It's time now that we should be starting to really move past our alphabet flashcards, and they're starting to not really get used because we got them. And we should be getting into like our pronoun flashcards, our verb tense flashcards, and those prefix and suffix you should have been into already. And so use those. They're a tool, and they'll help you. Well, you could go back to charts. Sometimes more fun to do flashcards. So, all right. Unless like some people are just nerds and they like charts and stuff. Elisha was probably one, right?
No.
Oh, okay. You were laughing, so I thought maybe you were
I like
a
charts.
nerd. So it's okay. Actually, being a Hebrew nerd is cool. It's in, so it's not like something to be ashamed of. All right. So lemina, according to its kind, feminine, behema. And so see the hay on the end of behema? That's showing us that's a noun, and that's a feminine noun. Okay, it is a noun modifier, but it is also, there's a lot of letters we could have used as a noun modifier, but here it's a noun modifying feminine letter. Okay? Behema. You guys remember in Job the behemoth? So behema is a beast, behemoth is
Plurality.
plural
greatness.
beasts, right? And so if we want to say many beasts, we'd say behemoth, and we usually mean lots of beasts or cattle, because that's kind of the word. But in like that Job place, like we we're talking about the plurality of greatness, it uses the singular form of the verbs, and it uses the singular pronoun over and over again in that section.
The plural. Interesting.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. So it's a plurality of greatness there in Job. But here, so there's your word behemoth. It just means beast. So that was a big beast, right? The behemoth, and it's got the name. It's not like a, Tyrannosaurus Rex or some animal name, right? It's the beast. I mean, that was its name, so that's kind of interesting. All right, so we got each thing bringing after its own kind, her kind, the behemoth. Then we got varemes, and the accent on the second syllable there, as you see in your pronunciation, varemes. And the creeping, moving things, and we had that as a vocabulary word last week. So we got varemes and the creeping things, vakayoto, vakaito. And so this is for this word, kayat, or it looks just like coyote, actually. So the word coyote, or like a coyote, when we're thinking of that, that's a word for like a living thing. A coyote, kayat. So let's put that on the board. We'll get some room. All right.
Going back one word, is that the same word for the beast in Revelation?
I don't think so, and I'm not sure what the Aramaic is for that. So
Just curious.
yeah, I'd have to look it up. But I'm almost sure it's like not that kind of a beast. It's something.
More specific.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's do Vakayoto. And that's a
Is that right? So how do you know it's
Yes.
tongue stuff too?
So we had kaya, which is life. We got a dropped hey. So now we're just with kai. And then we got a noun modifying tav, kayat, which is also indicating to me that even though that's a noun modifier and it's changing it into a noun, that it's changing it to a feminine noun, is what I would assume from that, because it's choosing a feminine letter as a noun modifier.
Right.
So, kai oto, and a living creature, and its living creature. So that o on the end is it means his, belonging to him, because it's a noun. Remember a vav, bad vavs. A vav on the end of a noun isn't they, it's he, or more specifically his, belonging to him. You guys remember that? So that's the two things, like a vav is a suffix. No, that's good. As a suffix, on a noun, it's his, whatever that noun is. As a verb, it's they did that. So something that's a little hard to remember, but that's something that we can memorize. And so the beast, his beast. Okay, that beast, that living beast here, which really is from the word living creature, the living beast belongs to him. I think that's feminine because it's got the tav in it, but whatever it belongs to is masculine. That's being pretty technical there, right? Let's move on and see what it belongs to. Vakaito eretz. Yeah, it is. So we just obviously broke a grammar rule. You gotta love that. It happens. I before E, except after C, and about 20 other exceptions, right?
Which are more numerous than the actual rule.
Right. Because sometimes grammar rules are just like
English
that.
is
They're made to be broken.
All right, so the earth brings forth. Hold on, I got lost in that verse
What
here.
page are you
Oh,
on?
so did he.
I'm on page
132.
132.
Oh, look, Raquel.
And Elohim said, to the
132.
earth, bring out
Four.
the souls.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. Let's. Yeah, I like what you're doing, Matt. Let's do it together. Okay, Vayomer and said,
Which page?
page 130.
Okay.
Elohim
And Elohim said,
Totse, it shall bring forth
On page
the earth shall
132.
bring forth
Haaretz,
We're there now.
the earth,
beasts and
Nefesh, Chaya, a living creature, Lemina, after its kind, feminine, Behema, a beast, and Remez, the Remez, and creeping thing, Vakaito, and its living creature. Maybe that its living creature is the Remez. Maybe that's why we got confused there.
Right.
Because the Remez was used right before it. And so the creeping thing and its living creatures, the moving things. So it's kind of a hard sentence to read,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I know.
I can understand the difficulty of translating.
It can, when you're going from one language to another, and things just don't, apples for apples a lot of times. And different rules and things, so.
What's Earth doing right
Eretz. Okay, so this does seem to be connected. Kaito seems to be connected to Eretz, the living creature of the earth.
there? According to
Remes means moving, so it could be Kaito is the living creature. But Remes could be in a verb form there, even though like maybe I've been translating it as a noun. Remes means to move or creep. The creeping living thing of the earth. And yes, it does read, if you're reading that, that's one of those that way they would almost definitely never leave in the Hebrew order, because you wouldn't understand it in English, and they're going to change the order because Hebrew is going to, this isn't really unusual for Hebrew, but it is really unusual for English, how we're reading that right now. And let's move back through that one more time, just that last part. Each one after its kind, the behema, varemes, and creeping, vakaito, and living creature, eretz, living creature of the earth. That's how I'm reading that. Those are connected words. And that's how Hebrew does. It'll say the word, and then the next word is the word, this of that, right? This belongs to that. The last word is like the thing it belongs to, one that comes afterwards. And so the living creature of the earth, lemina, according to its kind. And that's the hey there, so we have a feminine again. So lemina, according to the kind of it. And we got vayehi came. And so that's very familiar. We see that after he says and speaks things into existence in creation, he says, Vayehi came, and it was so. All right. So we have, actually, I'm stopping at verse 25 here, so this could be an early class unless we have some kind of rabbit trail. That I can foresee a little bit of rabbit trail coming up in verse 25, though.
So 25 is our last one to do.
Today.
Yeah, and then we can do a review back and just read. That might be good. Okay, so we got vaya as, and that's from that word asa, to do or make, that we've seen several times, or a few times anyway, maybe a couple. And notice the hay drops off. So instead, you would think it would be vaya asa because it's to do or make, but it's just vaya as. And made Elohim et Kayat. There's that, a live creature. Living, a live creature. Haaretz. Notice that, see it paired, that's a pair form when you see one word and it's followed by another, a noun followed by another noun. First one mentioned belongs to the second noun. So, Chayat Haaretz, creature of the earth. Lemina, after its kind. And that's just also verifying that kaya is a feminine because we see after its kind, and the kind is in the feminine with the hay there. So each one after its kind. Va'et and ha-behima. Ha-behima. The beast.
The feminine beast.
The feminine beast. Lemina.
We'll just,
You might, yeah, I'm gonna, yep. Lemina, after its kind. So that, once again, a lot of feminine. We haven't seen that, remember? We haven't really been seeing those feminines. And so we kind of saw the masculines earlier on in Genesis 1, and now we're seeing a lot more feminines. We did see a couple of feminine nouns like, eretz, the earth was haitah, it was tohu vabohu, and that's another confirmation that eretz is feminine. Va'et, page 138, kol is all. Kol is all. Kol, remes, creeping, moving things. So, like, if you just let's get a memory tool here. So, if you want to call someone a creep, why don't you call them a remes? You remes. No, memory tools are good. Get that stuff in your head. Like, what a remes.
Like a
Big oaf.
A big oaf is a big bird. Another great memory tool. Big oaf is a big bird. Remes is how you call someone who's a creep. And then, now here's a new word for us. Ha-adama. Ha-adama. What's that?
Redden?
The ground. So this is. I had fun with this in my other class. I want to spend a minute on adama because we get to cover all kinds of fun stuff in this. We get to cover racism and all kinds of stuff.
all right.
We get to, because Adam comes from the word to redden. As a verb, it's going to be to redden.
Is that
Okay.
the same as like Adam?
And that is exactly the same as Adam. So Adam means red. Red is the verb to redden.
So his name, he called his
Adam
name
is red. And so the Native Americans are right. Red man. Sorry. So the white supremacists are wrong. The
He
black
was red
Hebrew
man.
the black Hebrew movement's way off, right? And we got the red man. Now I'm
In
just
the
being
beginning.
kind of tongue in cheek here, but if
It
you
was the
were
red man.
gonna argue it,
He's
we'd have a
red.
little more leg to stand on with red.
He was Indian.
And David, who is very handsome, was ruddy.
Right, ready. How is he ready?
He
Ready?
was red.
Red.
Yeah.
Okay, so Adama, Adam can be man, but it also can be to redden. Adama, that's your feminine noun
So
modifier.
Adam means man, not.
Means both.
Right,
It doesn't mean his name.
Adam. Yep, it's like, hey, red.
It's his name too. Because
So-
all names have meanings.
So Adam was man, and not as that's in the sense of man as a species, right? Like man, Adam, man, and the first man was named man, and so God was like, "Hey, man."
What if the red
How
wasn't his
original
skin?
is that?
See, hold on, guys.
Yeah, really. It could be his hair. I don't know.
Hey, man.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Hey, man.
Hey, Sean.
Adama. Yeah,
John mentioned, what if it was his hair that was red?
it could have been red hair.
Maybe it's really Irish from the beginning.
Okay, there's gonna be so much edits unless I just make a fun video, guys. Let's help me out here a little bit.
We
Okay.
thought we were done.
Adama.
We are helping you. Right
Right.
over the cliff.
It's more entertaining. Adam, the man, or red, and then Adama, that becomes a different noun. It means a certain thing, and that is the ground. We've been out there working the ground or the soil and planting things in it. And so Eretz is like the earth, the everything,
Doesn't
you know,
just
or
mean
the
the
land.
man.
But this is
Adam.
specifically the soil now. So Adamah. Adamah is soil, and then we know Adam was taken from what? Adamah. So it kind of fitting. He took the Adamah and he formed Adam. Very
Okay.
fitting. And it doesn't have to mean red. And that's where, you know, I was being kind of joking about that he had to be red, because actually it's the word for ground. And that's, in the ground you have different colors of soil. You've got, you know, you got black dirt, you've got red dirt, you got yellow, you know, when you got clay, you got white with sand, and, you know, I mean, so, and it's interesting because when we look at the different colors of the soil, we also see all the colors of mankind.
Mhm.
Isn't that kind of neat,
Yeah.
right? Like, we
Because
think
they're
of
made
it,
out of the dirt.
and he made from one all the nations of the earth.
But the
Racism
inside's still
and all this
the same.
stuff about God likes this race better than another. You know, you're not filled with the Holy Spirit when you believe that. I'm sorry, but you're
No.
way off, because that's just sectarianism. That's just it's the flesh. I'm more important than you are. It's just garbage,
Yeah. the-
right? I don't like this. If somebody doesn't want to have the class because I'm against racism, that's their problem.
Hey, I guess.
What's
We're all
that?
dirt anyway. I don't know why we. think
Right,
it's
we're all
so
dirt
good.
and proud of it because of what color the dirt is. So that's interesting, and I told you I'd do a little rabbit trail. So Adam, we're made from the dust of the earth, and I want to kind of prep because I'm going to spend a little bit of time in verse 26 next week on the creation of man, because that's really fun. And one of the things that's interesting is we see all the different colors of human beings in the dirt, and we also find scientifically that every single element found in the human body, without exception, is found in the earth, right? So whether it's iron, magnesium, you know, water, we're made of lots of water, and all these different elements of the earth are found in the human body. And this was kind of interesting for me. I once heard that somebody did the math of how much of each element is in your body, and they're really not very expensive things, right? Like water, you're mostly water, that's free, right? And then you take the other elements, and back then, this is probably like 15 years ago, let me get my black marker here. And what they estimated was that that's what we were worth
And
in
it's
raw
like-
elements.
We might be worth
Now
$1.50
let's
now.
factor in inflation, because it's been a little while. And so let's say you're a buck. Okay? So when you think of yourself in raw materials, you're a buck.
But when you put the breath of God in it, it's invaluable.
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 More valuable than any other thing in creation.
I know.
Which is amazing. And, you know, you can take materials that cost almost nothing, but what you do with them can make that priceless, right? When you think of vessels that get made, and it's the
Clay
artistic,
They make pottery.
you know, the artist and the one who did it that makes it really amazing, so, and valuable. So, you know, that goes right back to like Psalm 8, where he says, "What is man that you are mindful of him? He's a buck." Or the son of man that you notice him. But then, you know, we also read that he says, you know, I shared this in my other class, heaven is my throne, earth is my footstool. In other words, I fill all the universe. He's so massive and mighty and everything, and you wouldn't think he would even pay attention. We'd be like paying attention and loving an amoeba to us, right? But he says, on this one will I look. He that is of a humble and contrite spirit, and that trembles at my word. And so the value that God's placed in man is amazing. It's amazing that he would care for us. And, you know, when we talk about value, you can tell what the value of something is by what it costs, right? So whatever you end up paying, like you wouldn't go onto a car lot and they go, yeah, we got a 1974 Pinto station wagon. We're only asking $500,000 for it. Now, who would pay that? Right? It's not worth it. But if it was like a super rare car, there's cars that cost millions of dollars, and they're like, man, I want $500,000 for that car. You'd be like, done. I want that car. That's a good deal, because what a thing is, the cost of something reflects its value. And so when we think about man, like he made man out of a buck, but he gave everything for it. He gave himself, and that the creator of the universe suffered and died, right? He created, by him were all things created, talking about the Son, right? And through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So the creator of the universe, we were worth his blood, his life. And that just shows like the value that I don't understand. I once heard they asked a theologian, like, what is the greatest theological mystery to you in the Bible? And he said, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. That is the greatest theological mystery that I can't fathom, right? But God does, he loves us, he cares about us, and he takes special care in the creation of man. We'll see that in the next week's video. So call all remes, creeping things of ha'adamah, of the ground, leminehu, after his kind, its kind in a masculine. So remes is our masculine. And then we got something we've seen in all the other verses. Vayirah, and saw Elohim ki tov, that it was good. All right. You guys want to go through that one more time? Just review. We've had a shorter class. All right.
You must be really busy.
And actually, we got 31 verses. We're on verse 26. It leaves us, 5 verses next week? We're right there. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yep, 6 verses. Yep. So that's really doable. Bless you. Barak you. Okay, let's just go back to verse 22 and just do some reading. So we got Vayibrak, all the way back, yep, because it's literally only 7:45. All right, Vayibrak and Vayibarik, let's say it right, Vayibarik, and he honored Otam, them, Elohim, Lemor, saying, Peru, they bear fruit. I'm just going to say it how it literally appears. They bear fruit. Urbu, and they will multiply. Umelu, and they will fill. Et, what are they going to fill? Et tells us Hamayim, the waters. Et Hamayim B'yamim. B'yamim, in the seas. The waters in the seas. V'ha'o, and the bird. Doesn't this kind of feel easy right now? Like as we're reading this? It just feels kind of easy, huh? This would never have felt easy a few weeks back. So something's happened here as you guys are really starting to get better at this and not having to think so hard when you see those prefix and suffix letters. Sometimes, but not as much. V'ha'of, and the bird, Yirab, and that's it, or shall increase, Ba'aretz, on the earth. So easy. Vayehi Eret. And it was evening, Vayehi Boker, and it was morning, Yom Kamishi, day 5th.
Is Kamiki the same as 5 too?
Kamesh is 5, Kameshi is 5th. It just has a yod on it, just one little extra thing for 5th. Then we got Vayomer Elohim Totse. It brings forth. It does bring forth the ongoing tense. We know that because of that vav in there. But okay, Totse haaretz, the earth. Nefesh kaya, creatures living, or living creatures, as we say in our word order. Lemina, what's that mean?
According to
Feminine.
Right. Behema, beast,
she beast.
a she beast. Varemes, and creeping thing. Or it could be and creeps, and will creep. It could be. Because when we see that,
In a different context.
whether it's noun or verb, sometimes isn't really clear in the context. And we might see it translated a certain way, but it is interesting to know that varemes could be and a creeping things, or it could be and it will creep. And hopefully context would make that clear, and sometimes it's not clear. And then what do? You just
So the she beast might be creeping.
yeah, well, I'll leave that one alone. But anyway.
Good plan.
Edit.
Sometimes the holding the sarcastic things inside almost hurts. Okay, we got so varemes, vachaito. Yeah, varemes. Thank you. Varemes. Vachaito. Vachaito. And living creature. It's living creature. Eretz. Of the earth.
Right. It's of the earth.
Yeah,
That's what I determined.
yeah, of the earth. Lemina, after kind of it. After its kind.
Feminine.
Feminine. Yes. Vayehi chen. And it was so. I see you guys doing really good at your reading. That's awesome. You guys are doing very good. All right, we got Vayas and made Elohim et Chayat, living creature, Haaretz, of the earth. Okay, living creature of the earth, Haaretz. Lemina, after its kind. We got Va'et and Ha Behema, the beast. Lemina, after her kind. After its kind. Va'et Kol, all. Remes, creeping things. Remember the creeps. Remes. Ha'adama, creeps of the ground. Remes, ha'adama, creeps of the ground. Creeping things of the ground.
Not to be confused with the creeping things of the woods.
Right.
Creeps of the ground are like dirt bags.
Yeah.
They're not crepes. Right.
Aw.
It's gonna be so hard to edit. Lemina. Leminehu. Leminehu.
I think you just leave it.
After its kind. We're having fun, aren't we?
Mhm.
Yeah. After its kind.
Why not let the
That's
people
after
have people have
the
fun?
kind of him, the masculine it. Not a feminine it. There are feminine its and masculine its.
These are,
And we got Vayira. Oh, I'm
Doesn't
sorry, what's
say
that?
which ones are creeps.
in this case, they're masculine.
Okay.
Creeps are
Masculine.
masculine.
Creeps are masculine.
So does that kind of fit, maybe? Or I don't know.
Generally.
Matt's like, yeah, it does. Sorry, that's in the video. Totally in the video. That was Matt Lone Star.
Oh, okay.
Hey, at least someone else gets their name besides me.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Vayira and Sa Elohim Ki that told. Good. Saw that it was good. Wow, that felt easy.
Okay,
How
I
did you
have
do it?
one.
Next time we're having you over here.
I'm a Luna.
You're gonna be front and center next time. All right.
Yeah.
Any questions
I have a
about?
question.
Sure. Let's do
On the
field
word
questions.
Adam, ha-adama,
Mm-hmm.
on the end it's a noun modifier.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't Adam a noun anyway?
It is. So noun modifiers can change a verb into a noun, or it can change one noun into a different noun. If you see Adam without the hey, then that's man as a noun. If you see Adama, you know it's soil. If they were spelled the same way, then we might get that confused. So it is nice to have that hey there because
So
it's
that noun
it's a
modifier.
different noun.
Okay.
It's just like, it makes it a different word, right? They're not spelled exactly the same. So one is man and one
So whenever you
is
see Adama, that means ground.
ground, soil.
But if you see
Adam,
Adam.
that's man.
but
Adam
because
as
it
a
was
verb.
Adam, it would mean
Adam
man.
is a verb to redden. I don't know if that occurs once in scripture.
If
Maybe
there
it
was a
does.
word-
Okay, so the word dam, you guys know that word? It's blood. Dam is blood coming from Adam. See, blood is red.
It's still blood.
And so when we got dam, dam is the blood.
Does
And
red,
it's
Dom
very
mean
related
red
to-
color or Dom means blood?
Yeah, dam is blood, but it's also, we know blood is red. Adam is red, dam is blood. Those are nouns spelled different ways, and that's good because if I say dam, you know I mean blood. If I say Adam, you know I'm saying man. And if I say Adama, then you know I'm saying soil or ground. And so those are three different vocabulary words, right?
Okay,
No, they're
so
not
it's-
our vocabulary words,
okay.
but you know, dam
So
is one
sometimes that'll
word,
change it to a noun, but sometimes it really will just change it to a different
a
noun.
different noun, right?
So
Remember
if I said ha-adam, I would mean the man.
the man, right? If you say ha adama, then you're saying the ground. If you said hadam, you're saying the blood,
Right.
right? So those are all just similar, related related words to a related root,
Okay.
but they're different nouns. There are different ways how we spell different nouns. So,
Okay.
and another example of that would be Elohim, because Elohim has a noun modifier, and it was changed into the noun. It's Elohim is the noun God, and the noun it came from was El, which is a ram. Okay, which is a mighty, creature, or a post, which is strength.
So El
And
means
So Ale, a Aleph Yod Lamed, you see that on page 140 when we see Elohim in the next verse, 26. You see, so I'll just remind you, you had Elohim and it has a noun modifier of a hey, and that changed it from an Ale, which was one noun, which was a ram, and it turned it into the mighty one, which is Eloah. Eloah is mighty one. Ale is ram, but they're related by the root.
Okay.
That makes sense. So yeah, and we do see, and that's a good question, very good thing to reiterate. A noun modifier, well, we usually see it meaning it changed this verb into a noun, but it also can change this noun into a noun. It also can change an adjective into a noun.
So you just kind of memorize that pretty much.
It's just, you just know what that word is. It's a noun modifier, but the best thing to do is to build your vocabulary up so that just by memory. So if I say Adama, you're like, oh, I know Adama. Adama is soil,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I say Dam, oh, that's blood. Adam, oh, that's man. If I say Ale, oh, that's a ram. Eloah, oh, that's God. Elohim, that's the mighty God, right? So it is really just like, it's just memorization, and memorization, it's not hard. See, the key to memorization is that we do something often.
Yeah,
If we do something often, it's effortless.
right.
It really is. I mean, some of us have better or worse memories, but even with weak memory powers,
You
your
can still learn.
constant repetition will make it easy.
Yeah.
You know, things come to you. I'll give you guys an example, and maybe this will be good for the video. Actually, I started skateboarding when I was 35 years old. Okay, so that's pretty unusual. And I was vertical skateboarding. I started vertical skateboarding and doing some street skate and trying to learn how to, drop in and down big ramps and stuff, and actually still enjoy skating. But the thing with it's harder to learn when you're 35. Okay, because thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I saw like little kids try to land a trick, is how you would call it, and they would practice something for a much shorter period of time,
Asher.
and they would land it, boom. And it's because that when you've been doing something a certain way, or something's unfamiliar and your brain is settled in that way, it's hard to break the ground of your brain. And I could not do an ollie. An ollie is where you hop up on the board and cause both wheels to come up off the ground. I worked on that over and months. I couldn't ollie. I was frustrated. I could ride down the ramp, but I couldn't ollie for nothing. And I kept doing it. And, I finally got it. And after I got that, I put a lot of work into it. The next thing I tried was way easier. Like, I had to overcome that first hump of the obstacle, which was in my head. And then other things came to me like a lot easier. And then it started coming a lot easier after that. And the thing that I'm kind of pointing out is, like, what really needed to happen is I just spent a lot of time on the skateboard. Spending a lot, so I could not be good balanced on the skateboard and try to do tricks, and it was very difficult. What I needed to do was get to a place where I did that so much that even something I never did before, I was able to do it the first time I tried it. I saw someone else do it, and I did it because I became comfortable on the board. Through continual, so I think this is a good analogy, through continual time with it, even for somebody who started late, I started to feel, and I had to overcome an initial wall that was very large that most people didn't.
Right.
And that's what happens, like, when you're older and you try to learn a language. You are going to struggle more. That's just, I've seen that in my classes. I just know that's true. But I also see that you can, if you get to a certain point, it takes you a lot longer to really start getting it. But once you do, something kind of breaks and your brain accepts it, and then it gets easier and easier for you. And so if I was going to encourage anything, like, I know we're coming to an end of our classes, and I really want you guys, is if you could just spend an enjoyable time in the Word of God, in the Hebrew. If it's just a few words, if it's a verse, and you just start enjoying that daily. If you would do that daily, you'll be fluent in Hebrew in no time. You really will, because whatever you do daily becomes natural. Once you get comfortable on your board, and it actually feels like an extension of your legs, you just start trying to do stuff and it happens. And so that's the same thing. You just need to get comfortable in this new language. You need to get comfortable so you're so familiar with it that all of a sudden things just start clicking in your mind. And once you hit that point, you're like a super acceleration in your learning. Learning Hebrew is like, there's this much knowledge, okay? And you spend 75% of your time to make this much ground, okay? And then you hit a place of super acceleration and you blast into your reading. You become proficient. Like, that was my experience. That's been the experience of people I've known that have become proficient, is they worked really, really hard, felt like they're never going to get it, and then they got it, and then they just can open a Hebrew Bible and just read. and it just feels easy. Right? So anyway, that's my encouragement. Go team.
Thanks, Coach.
Motivational speaker here.
Motivational. I like that.
Motivational.
Motivation.
I need a lot of edits. All right, thanks guys.